luckily, we do have our presenters also available for this discussion, and so we will be starting it right now. Wanted to start off with a question, and this is, it's tough since I know many of you are regulators, but what are the, maybe just in general for anyone that wants to answer is, what are the regulatory policies or the types of regulatory policies that have helped 5G be successful so far? What would you say have been successful policies that have helped at this point? And maybe would anybody? How about in China and India? If you can hear me online, what have been some of the policies that have helped 5G be successful?
Hello, I'm Zhiqin from IMT 2020 PG. I think for the mobile telecommunication system, especially for 5G, the spectrum policy is most important to provide enough bandwidth spectrum to the operators. Is the most efficient regulation policies. Except spectrum, of course, in China, we also have a service license for the operators. That's also very important. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And in India, what do you think have been some of the policies that have helped 5G be successful?
Thank you. In India, we think that the primary input for the 5G is the spectrum, large quantity of spectrum availability with each operator. So we have enabled that. Though we have not yet launched the services, but the second most important aspect is the use cases which are relevant and specific to the Indian requirements. So we have invested a lot of time and resources in developing the use cases for Indian needs. In addition to this, as the 5G has impact across the economic sectors, so the security of the networks is also relevant. So India is focusing on developing the secure communication networks which can be trusted across the world. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. As I mentioned in my presentation, we have three major policies. The first one is the supporting the development of 5G infrastructure. Especially, we are promoting the infra sharing policy. And the second one is the regulatory issues. That is the frequency assignment. We have to assign broader frequency bands as much as possible. And the third one is promoting the technology development, that is the R&D policy or the field tests. We have to promote various use cases in various fields.
What would the panelists say then about what we've learned in 5G? So we have policies, and you mentioned spectrum and infrastructure sharing and other areas that we've done well on. What have we learned, though, maybe in 5G that could help us as, I hate to say it, 6G, because I'm 5G Americas, but what have we learned maybe in our policies or regulations in 5G that could maybe help us as we move beyond 5G? From the panel that would like to say what we have learned from 5G that maybe we want to look at as we move beyond 5G.
May I come in?
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
So the 2-3 learnings in India we have is that number one, as we move to the next generation, the wireless end link becomes shorter. I mean, the distance it covers becomes shorter. So need to invest a lot in the fiberization of the networks as far as India is concerned, so that we can move in the ladder. The second important learning is 5G also and 6G will be more specific to each and every sector of the economy. So the digitalization of processes in other sectors of the economy is important so that these technologies can be efficiently used to increase efficiency in other sectors of the economy. Thank you.
I think Zhiqin Wang, did you want to say something? I think you were on mute.
Okay. So from my understanding, one is still, I think, is the spectrum. And since 5G, they have different scenarios. So we really need the frequency from low frequency, medium frequency, and high frequency to satisfy with different kind of application scenarios. And such situation, I think, in 6G is even diverse scenarios. So we really need a wide range of frequency band to satisfy with 6G of 5.5 gigahertz generation. Second is some actions for the green and the low carbon development of ICT industry. It seems quite important. Since right now 5G is one area to spend much power right now for network instrument and maintenance. So for the 5G advanced and 6G, the green and low carbon is a very important goal. So we need some policies for network sharing and some research and development for ICT low carbon aspect. So I think such a direction should, for the whole industry pay great attention. That's some ideas for the regulations aspect. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chris. It is often said that the progress of 5G in Japan is a little bit slow. But in my personal view, the current 4G network and services have been quite comfortable and satisfactory for the users in Japan. Therefore, unless attractive 5G services or applications emerge, current users may be a little bit hesitant to move to 5G. But as you said in your speech, we have started our 5G commercial services just a couple of years ago. So it's a little bit too early to judge whether we get success or not in the field of 5G.
Yeah. Yes. No, that's very good. And that maybe leads me to my next question. How do each of the panelists kind of have a viewpoint of we as an industry of the 5G industry, we want to look at other industries, and that might be areas such as transportation, healthcare, many others. So how does our industry navigate the regulations that are typically in each country on things like healthcare or transportation and so forth? Is this something that needs to be done by the agencies of government? Is it a cooperation and collaboration between the 5G industry and maybe the Department of Transportation or so forth, if it's transportation, or if it's medical, it's between the 5G industry and whoever's in the regulator on medical? Or is there a different approach that should be handled when we start to think about the fact that, again, as an industry, 5G wants to move into new applications, but some of these are highly regulated. Does anyone have any comment about how this should be handled? or where is the opportunity to move into these in a way?
May I come in?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So in India, the approach we are following is that the Department of Telecom, in collaboration and coordination with other 21 important sectors of the economy, it has constituted a working group kind of arrangement where for each and every sector, the technology developers, the 5G service suppliers, and users of that particular sector are collaborating to identify the use cases, the changes in the regulations which are required in that sector, the processes which are required to be re-engineered to use the 5G technology for increasing the efficiency and productivity in those sectors. It includes the power, transportation, mining, all kind of sectors. And the focus is also on increasing the worker safety, healthcare, agriculture, education, so that we can bridge the gaps, whatever we have between haves and have-nots. So the experience till now is that when we coordinate and collaborate with different sectors of the different ministries who are regulating the different sectors of the economy, then the use cases which are very much relevant to the public come out of those coordination and collaborations. So I feel the way forward is the coordination and collaboration among different departments or the ministries of the government, and then interacting with the industry players in each sectors of the economy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think we had Zhiqin Wang from China.
Okay. So during my presentation, I give some information about this aspect. I think right now in China, MIT, together with collaborate with the different ministries to release many different maybe like a project, pilot project. For example, 5G plus medical health aspect. MIT with NHC together issued a pilot project, and also 5G plus the education. And last year, we released we call it selling action plan for 5G applications. And that is MIT in collaboration with other 9 central government. I think that's a very good policies to have collaborate with different ministries and to work together to find the use case and to do some joint project. And after the project, we can get some joint standards between industrial, and that will give a very good platform for the other maybe trails and other users to just follow the pilot project. And during my presentation, I also give some information about we call it the Blim Cap competition. It already take 4 years, and that's also very good performance to collect different kinds of use case. So that's some examples for the regulatory policies to especially for the, I think there's cross ministries policies is very important for 5G application development.
Yes, yes, I would agree. Thank you. Anyone from on stage?
Yes, thank you, Chris. It is a little bit difficult to mention about specific industry or specific use case. The situation of regulation is totally different. It depends on the whole national policies. But the goal for us is, I believe that the goal is same, to build a digital nation and to solve the various problems by using the 5G or 6G. So generally speaking, the international collaboration concerning the regulation will be very much important. Yeah.
From our point of view in the U.S. is there are lots of opportunities in these other industries, and a lot of them are highly regulated through our government and so forth. But I think we find that when the rules and regulations are very transparent, and the kind of the conversations and collaboration are early in the process. So if you have applications or that you're going after a healthcare market or transportation, as long as you can be early in the process with education and understanding of those, it's very helpful. Although I do think some of these areas are very new for 5G industry to navigate. And there's been many what would be considered legacy regulations that are not just in the US, but even in Latin America as well, that didn't kind of have the view of the technology being able to do what it does and how it can do it. So it's something that always has to be overcome. But early education and early in the processes is very helpful that in the US and many parts of the Latin America region. Next question is kind of an interesting one because we're here at a 5G MOU event. But I do want to ask the panel is, we're talking about 5G, and in my opinion that we're still early in the process. As I mentioned, second quarter we hit about 800 million connections in the world, and that's going to grow to billions and billions. And 5G has a lot of technical capabilities that are just now being put out into the marketplace. I consider it early in the process. I would say it's about the third inning of a 9-inning baseball game, or still the first half of a football or soccer game. Is each of the panelists, is the time right to already start talking about 6G, or is it not right? So I guess, is it time to be thinking about 6G already? And what's the viewpoint of each of the panelists on that, as far as where we are? Because 6G has many regulatory or will have many regulatory requirements as well. But is it too early to speak about 6G, or is it about right because it takes a long time, all these standards and research and development? So maybe I'll start with Mr. Singhal. Is it about right to talk about 6G, or is it too early, and why?
Thank you. As we all know that the technology development has its own cycle, and it takes time to identify the next level of requirements, develop standards, develop technologies. So in my view, it is a right time to start discussing on 6G also. And in India, we take this as a continuous journey. As I discussed in my presentation, that now India has decided to become part of the global value chain in development of the technologies also. So we have already started working on identifying the requirements for the 6G. The government has already constituted a task force for this purpose, and we may come out with a white paper in this regard shortly. The development of technology as we move forward require a collaborative approach among different players. So it much more global cooperation in addressing the regulatory challenges which will come because of the more interconnected world or interconnected use cases which we will see in case of 6G, especially when it affects the individual's privacy issues also. So we require a lot of time to discuss all these issues. So in my view, it is an appropriate time to start talking of 6G also. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Zhiqin WANG, do you have any thoughts about?
Yeah. I think for 6G, in China, we think it will be commercial used in year 2030. And right now, as you know, actually already start some research for 6G for vision requirement and also the potential technical directions. So I think it's the right time to start the 6G research, especially for the visionary requirement. So in China right now, we already start some, also establish IMT 2030 promotion group to organize some research on 6G. And I do think in 6G, the collaboration between different regions, especially to have a unified standard is most important, is critical element for 6G. And I just think right now, the global 5G event is a quite good platform. So hope it can be maybe extended to 6G. I noticed that we already have one session to talk about 6G. I hope we can have more cooperation in this platform. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. We still have a lot of challenges in the field of 5G. As I mentioned, one of the big challenges is the utilization of the millimeter wave. Concerning the millimeter wave, the building the network infrastructure is, of course, very important. At the same time, handsets which can use the millimeter wave are essential. And in addition, attractive applications or contents specific to millimeter wave are also important. On the other hand, I know that a lot of countries started their discussions on beyond 5G or 6G. Therefore, I think we can start our discussion concerning our collaboration towards beyond 5G or 6G.
Did a great job on that, because I think we all realize that 5G still is alive and has a lot of runway left, but it's not too early to start discussions. And as the panelist has mentioned, it takes a long time to go from discussions and research to having the standards developed, and then after standards, what commercial products that can address new industries and new applications. So I think I wanted to open it up to see if there was any questions from the audience before we close the initial session. Any questions from the audience today? Okay. Well, on behalf of 5G Americas, who moderated it, and all the panelists, I wanted to thank all the panelists for your time today, and also for everyone out in the virtual world there that was able to join us and also pre-record your presentations. So thank you very much for your time today on the panel.